Hi everyone, my name is Jasmine, and today I just today I just really wanted to say a few not say a few words, but I really wanted to talk about the Black Lives Matter movement, how we could all move forward and be an ally for the movement, how you could do this and keep doing it even after all the hype has died down on social media, all the protests have stopped, especially if you are someone who creates content online. But even if you're not, we all have an influence online and offline. Before you say that it does not affect you or your life or your loved ones, I would encourage you to look up and research the history of where you live. For example, I live in Canada and there is a lot of police brutality here as well. And it's really hard to ignore what's been going on in the States because they're just right below us, and I know it happens here as well. I'm from Toronto, and a lot of my friends have shown me so many clips of police brutality that's happening there with Black people, Indigenous people, and if you live in North America, it's everywhere. But also, I'm from the Philippines, and I actually but I was actually born in the Philippines and I lived there for 15 years. So I know that there's a lot of anti-Blackness, colonial mentality that's being passed down from generation to generation, from our family and from our friends, and also from the media. The last time I went there last year, I saw an ad in Manila that says, if you want to look rich, you can use this whitening soap. So if you're Filipino, you know exactly what I'm talking about. There's a lot of just anti-Blackness mentality in the Philippines, in our own homes. And I actually created this post about it on my Instagram that's been shared a lot. So that means there is a problem in the Philippines and the Filipino community in North America. It's also a good post to show your parents because I listed so many reasons why we should care as Filipinos. We should care as non-Black people of color, as immigrants. We owe it all to Black communities and freedom fighters. But honestly, we don't even need to owe it to anyone. It's just the right thing to do as humans, to speak against injustice and speak out when you have a platform, especially. Regardless, I know that racism happens everywhere in the world, so it's something that we need to it's something that we need to fight against as humans. So obviously this is a very loaded topic and I'm going to try to be as direct as possible. But the first thing I really wanted to emphasize is how important it is to speak up. If you're white, your white friends would probably listen more to you than from someone like me. And if you speak up, it will normalize speaking up and it will encourage them to do the same. Not speaking up against this if you're white sends a message that it's not a white people's problem, but it is. And lastly, using your privilege as a white person could save another person's life. If you are a non-Black person of color like me, or if you're an immigrant living in North America, being silent about these issues perpetrates white supremacy and racist behavior. And secondly, we wouldn't be here if it weren't for the work of Black communities and freedom fighters. And we will continue to benefit from those who are fighting for racialized communities today. So will our children. And we owe it to them to speak against this. And lastly, using your voice could save a person's life. Okay, so the first thing that I would encourage you to do is acknowledge that there is a problem. And if you are an online creator and you have a niche, I guarantee you 99% that there is a problem of inequality or racism that needs to be addressed. So for me, I tend to create a lot of content surrounding sustainability, and a lot of people tend to forget that sustainability has three components: environmental, social responsibility, and economic development. So the last two are often ignored and people focus on the environment a lot. So for me, if I want to support a company, it's not enough for me to see that they're using organic cotton or renewable materials. I would want to know who is making their clothes or who is making their products and are they being paid fairly. So one of the most interesting, well, really sad things that I've learned from this documentary called 13th, which I really encourage for you to watch, is the fact that a lot of big companies use prison labor. So a lot of these companies use prison labor to make their products and they don't pay them fairly. So that's similar to a sweatshop in China or in Bangladesh or in the Philippines. So if you're someone who is all for sustainability and fair wages, then you should really look into this. So a big part of acknowledging the problem or acknowledging that there is a problem is by looking into yourself and checking if you have any biases or racial prejudice. And honestly, it's fine if you do because we were raised this way, and in North America we were taught to ignore racism and normalize it. And same in the Philippines, we were taught to hate our culture and embrace, not hate our culture, but just think that Western culture or American culture is so much better than Filipino culture. And now that I'm aware of that, then I can pinpoint problematic ideas that I might have or I might have in the future. Just recognizing the blind spots that you might have right now or in the past is going to be really helpful. And I think that the easiest way to pinpoint your blind spots and your racial prejudice is by listening to the experiences of Black people or colored people or Indigenous people, BIPOC. You can do this by diversifying your friends, diversifying the media that you watch, diversifying the books that you read, and diversifying the businesses that you support. So just take an inventory of all of that and figure out whose perspectives have you been listening to, whose perspectives have you been seeing on TV, on your screens. In short, take the time to research influencers, books, TV shows, documentaries that are written by and written for BIPOC. And if you are a content creator, make sure that you make your stance on social media. I know that some people are hesitant to do this, but I think it's so important because it creates conversations and it shows your BIPOC friends that you support them and they really need that. I also have seen a lot of videos where they have been thanking those who are showing support and educating other people because it's probably so tiring for them to experience it and educate and fight for their own lives and also take care of themselves after everything that's been happening. So I think that we should share the burden with them and not let them do everything. Which reminds me, it's not their job to educate us. It is our responsibility to educate ourselves. And also, if you are a content creator, make sure that you make your stance clear with the brands that you collaborate with. So if you genuinely want to be an ally on social media or in real life, if you want to be an ally with the brands that you support, the questions you can ask brands are, how diverse is their workplace? Are they an equal opportunity employer? Or you can look it up, and because they could lie about it. So you could research on their team page how diverse they are. The ads or their feed on Instagram, how diverse is it? Or are they planning or committing to making it more diverse than before? Who makes their products? Are they being paid fairly? Honestly, it all comes down to whether they're also an ally or not. And even if they weren't before, that's okay, but what steps are they taking to be an ally now? Are they amplifying BIPOC voices? Are they diversifying their media, their Instagram feed, their workplace? So those are the type of So those are the types of questions that you can ask. Okay, so I'm going to share some action steps that you could take right now. If you live in Canada, I'm going to list a bunch of Google search terms that are really helpful based on my experiences and based on what I've read for the past week. I really encourage you to educate yourself on the history and the current events and how they are connected to each other. You could also do things like donate, sign petitions that you think are really important. You could also just share resources, pass on the petition that you signed, and just create conversations with the people around you and learn from each other. And like I've already mentioned, diversify. Because I know how hard it is for BIPOC people to hear that, wow, I can't believe that's happening. Racism still exists. And I think it's kind of insulting because it means that you're not aware. You're not aware of the hurt that they're experiencing and the injustices that goes on around you. So I think it's really important to keep learning, keep sharing, keep watching out for your own biases. I know that there is a lot more to it and we need to seek out information ourselves. I know that it's hard sometimes when you don't know where to start, so I hope that this really helps, and I'm going to post places that you can donate to, influencers that you should follow, and businesses to support at the end of this, or maybe I could put it down below, but also I'll put it on this video, and I hope that it really helps, and I'll see you in my next video.